Hey everyone, this is Andrew over at ilovetheburg.com, coming live to you tonight from my studio apartment here in the Old Northeast. I've just wrapped up a mini community cleanup again. In a few short minutes, I'm going to be going live with Liz Dimmitt, who is the CEO of Fairgrounds St. Pete, which will be opening with the factory. But I figured I'd go live just a little bit early, just to go over a few stories I love this week, and also talk a little bit about our weekend newsletter that goes out every Friday morning. So some exciting things happening. First, while on a long walk this past weekend, I happened across Hog Batch's new space. It's just a production facility right now, but if you haven't tried their coffee, it mixes coffee and bourbon, coffee and whiskey, coffee and gin. It is strong and it is absolutely delightful, especially if you're someone like me who's a big fan of that like bourbon taste, but also has a dire need of caffeine in the morning. Just a wonderful combination. Additionally, Andrew St. Pete, which is a Korean food truck here, they just announced that they're opening a brick and mortar location just off of 16th Street North. They're still working out the kinks and getting ready to offer takeout from that facility, but the expansion is going to allow them to, one, increase their menu, and two, experiment a bit more, but you'll also be able to get those really amazing, pieces of Korean fried chicken that they've kind of become so famous for. Another fun story from this week is that Eckerd College actually just received a grant, about $150,000, and that's going to allow them to continue their efforts to help reduce single-use plastics on campus. And it's also in partnership with UNF so that they can kind of do that study with two different demographics of students and two different types of campuses. And so hopefully that will help, those two universities figure out how they can cut down on their own single-use plastics and potentially get rid of them entirely. And those learnings can then spread across to other colleges across the country as they look for ways to be more sustainable and more eco-friendly. Also, right now, before I went live, and just before I went and did a little bit of a trash pickup around the Old Northeast, I was working on our weekend newsletter. And for those who aren't subscribed, our weekend newsletter is something that goes out every Friday morning to our email subscribers. And within that email, it kind of lists the best events coming up for the weekend. In previous times, it would be a lot more outdoor events, a lot of big community gatherings, concerts, and the like. But we figured out how to kind of transition it and feature some of the more interesting virtual events going on in St. Petersburg, in addition to the few sort of, in-person things that are going on. We're also talking about certain spots that got to reopen. If you haven't heard, like right around the corner bar has created a food menu, and so now they can reopen, for seating and all that. If I Brewed the World, they partnered up with 28 Grams Pizza so they could reopen their tasting room. The Ale and the Witch now has hot dogs, so you can kind of go in, enjoy the tasting room, enjoy their amazing selection of brews. It's just a wonderful local institution. So after this live, I'm going to put the link to subscribe to that newsletter in the link in our bio. But additionally, if you just go to ilovetheburg.com, there is a box where it just says, do you want to subscribe? Put in your email, and you'll be on the list, and you'll be getting, a little friendly reminder from us Friday morning about all the things you can do in St. Petersburg. I also wanted to take this time, something I don't often do. You can see a lot of it in our Instagram stories and, of course, on our Twitter and in our Facebook posts. But I just wanted to send a special shout out to our sponsors. I Love the Burg happens because of them. We've cultivated these wonderful community partnerships with organizations that we love and trust and who believe in what we do. So we've had a few recent additions to our sponsored list. So I really wanted to send a special shout out to Squeeze Juice Works and Kelly Lessem. They're one of the best local businesses in St. Petersburg. They just launched a new Juice Cleanse subscription service. It'll deliver their amazing juices that are made, these aren't things that you find in a freezer or anything like that. They're making these on site the day of and bringing them straight to your door. You're going to feel really good after you have a few of those. They also have a gorgeous courtyard that they share with Black Crow Coffee and with Tombolo Books. And so if you just want to enjoy the sun, little umbrella, they have this like banana and peanut butter toast, but you can get it on a gluten-free bagel. It's like one of my favorite ways to wake up in the morning. Also want to send a special shout out to the Body Athletic and the Body Electric Yoga. That's actually, they've been with us for a really long time. I was a fresh-faced kid out of Eckerd College, I think, when they first joined up with I Love the Burg, and they've been really fantastic sponsors of our blog, and I always appreciate their support. So if you're someone who's looking to get in shape. They're offering, virtual streaming classes. They also have, socially distanced, but they do have, limited capacity classes at their facilities right now as well. If you visit either of their websites or any of their social channels, you'll kind of get a rundown of what they're offering currently. But they also do a really wonderful partnership with like the Hollander Hotel, where they do sunrise yoga by the pool. It's so serene. Kino and I actually, we stayed for a week at the Hollander, and Kino's favorite thing to do in the morning was stare out at the pool and just kind of people watch from the balcony. It's a really beautiful setting. Caitlin Grady and Jenny Miller, who run it, are two of the most wonderful St. Pete residents you'll ever meet. Also wanted to send a special thanks to Kawa Coffee, who's also been with us forever. I've been drinking them since I was a student at Eckerd College, and in many ways I think they helped me get my degree at Eckerd College. They kept me awake when I needed it, helped me study for finals. And even now, living in the old Northeast, they've kind of become an anchor point for me during my morning walks, but especially when I'm about to go do like a 5-mile trash pickup before I start. I usually like to get like a really tall cold brew from Kawa, just plain black with ice, delicious, fuel, gets me going. Another sponsor I wanted to spend a special thank you to is Karma Juice Bar, which I was just at today actually. In addition to their assortment of just like great chocolate chip, gluten-free chocolate chip cookies, they also just have really great selection of acai bowls, pitaya bowls. And it is really hot out, and I can't think of a food better to eat right now to cool off than a pitaya bowl from Karma Juice Bar. And they've also just launched next door in the same venue in the Edge District is Pinoy, which is, I believe it's downtown's first Filipino restaurant. But they just added Halo Halo to the menu. They also have lumpia and a bunch of other just really great offerings. One of my coworkers actually kind of introduced me to Filipino cuisine. And so it's so wonderful to now have a restaurant they can offer on a daily basis. With all that aside, now I'm going to invite Fairgrounds CEO Liz Dimmitt into the conversation so we can learn a little bit more about this new arts hub opening in St. Petersburg.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you so much for asking me. It's my pleasure.
Absolutely. That's a beautiful, what is that behind you?
It is a large painting by actually a local artist. So I can move out of the way so you can see it. Pierce and my husband and I collect, so we have a bunch of wonderful things. This is Jake Troyley. He was actually he's from St. Petersburg originally, but is now going to have a big show in September at Monique Meloche Gallery in Chicago. So that's a very, very big deal.
Wow. Well, for our listeners right now, could you maybe describe what Fairgrounds is, like what inspired it, what St. Petersburg can expect from it?
Well, Fairgrounds is it's a arts destination, a collective of artists coming together really to make an entirely artist-made environment with a story. It's very much, there's a destination called Meow Wolf out in Santa Fe, and that's a good example of a similarly artist-made environment. So it's a totally immersive experience, everything made by artists and mainly local artists. And you'll go in, buy a ticket, come in and explore, and there's sort of a loose narrative. You can follow along, or you could just enjoy the beautiful surroundings. But we're really excited to be working with a large number of local artists to help bring the whole space to life, and hope to open in the first quarter of next year.
And I know you're a collector. You've probably seen like an emergence in the St. Pete art scene. Have you seen a lot of growth here in the last few years?
St. Pete it's a really smart city with a cultural policy and really invests in the arts and understands the arts. And so I spent actually out of college, I moved up to New York and lived there for 17 years, and always, I'm from here, kept my eyes on especially what St. Pete was doing, and really have been inspired to move home and do Fairgrounds here because of all the momentum and the openness and all the wonderful artists and creatives and the community that is so supportive in St. Petersburg and Pinellas County. And, I grew up in Dunedin, and that has a great artist community, but it's just so inspiring how many people have wanted to help, been positive about it. And this is sort of Tampa Bay's Renaissance, and it's an exciting time to be involved in the arts and the creative community here.
Absolutely. I mean, are there any local artists right now that you think more people should know about, or artists you'd like to spotlight?
Well, there's a lot. Right now, I'm following someone who I met through Chad Mize called Savannah Magnolia. She's working on a work for us for Fairgrounds, and I saw her work in Chad's July show, so not the current show, but last month's show, and didn't know about her till I went in to see the show, and immediately started following her on Instagram. Her handle's Savannah Magnolia, and she's just incredible. She lives actually down in Brandon, Sarasota. And I've just been so inspired by her paintings. I mean, there's so many artists in this area. It's hard to sort of just name a few. But we at Fairgrounds, we put out our first call to artists and got 145 artists responded. And, we're working with a large number of those.
I know you talked about it being sort of an immersive experience. So we're going to get a variety of mediums at Fairgrounds, correct?
Yeah, so it's not just painting, sculpture, not even just visual art. It'll be an entire sort of environment, and we're working with storytellers and music and sound artists, sculpture, painting, just really sort of everything. There'll be things from light installations to faux sort of facades of buildings to murals to sort of anything you could think of we'll probably have in there. And we're taking a really sort of broad definition of art. And again, not just visual art. We want performance, dance, spoken word, it all sort of taking place at Fairgrounds. And so we have this core group that are helping create the first Fairgrounds, but then Fairgrounds will hopefully be this backdrop for other artists to come in and create new works on top of and layer on top of.
But how big is Fairgrounds?
It's the exhibition itself will be over 12,000 square feet. So it's big and, great for these COVID-19 worlds, lots of room for social distancing. It's a big space. It's, that you can really sort of explore and go into different rooms and different areas and, really sort of play, investigate, and enjoy art.
So I think my first introduction to Fairgrounds actually was at the Shine finale. I think I posted a video from it this week where you guys had the mermaid tank outside the factory. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Merbella Studios, that's them behind that mermaid tank. And they're just incredible. And that's exactly sort of like a broad definition of art there that we love. I mean, they make those costumes, they perform, it's just an incredible set. And it's a couple together doing it. And that's very Fairgrounds, I would say, performative, beautiful art, something that's a little weird and wacky and very much Florida focused. And, what's more Florida than mermaids?
And I think I remember a while back we had spoken and we talked about like Florida mythology. Like the state of Florida is just like, it's wonderful and weird all at once. So is there going to be a lot of influences from, like Florida roadside culture, Florida mythology?
All of it. I mean, Florida, we can't cover it all. Florida has, limitless inspiration out there. So we're sort of highlighting a bunch of it. But yeah, all of that. One of my favorite things about Florida is the sort of high-low mix. We have, we have the whole spectrum of culture and the whole spectrum of activities to do, from an incredible outdoors to incredible institutions and museums to roadside attractions. We have it all. And then we have like weird, wacky, wonderful Floridians populating it all, doing their wonderful thing. So Florida is really, it is sort of a love letter to Florida, I would say. And it's just a celebration of all of Florida's individualness and, that weird, wacky, wonderful.
And I know this is a part of the factory. Can you maybe talk about how you sort of, how Fairgrounds and the factory came together on this project?
Yeah, so the factory really is a result of me knowing Kara and Jordan Behar of Behar Petronak Architecture and knowing they were in the Warehouse Arts District and loving their space and thinking, I should get a small little space and do some cool art projects in it. And I was thinking, 5,000 square feet at the max. And I asked them to sort of keep their eyes out for property, and they approached me about a year and a half later saying, we have found a bigger property than what you were looking for. It's 6.5 acres with 90,000 square feet of building space. Would you want to do something? Would you want to have Fairgrounds there? And I thought, yes. And so my family and their family have come together to buy the whole factory property. And we're just sort of doing adaptive reuse to get the buildings up to being able to host artists and other nonprofits and businesses. We're trying to keep everyone who will be there sort of the local cool businesses and make it a really fun arts and cultural destination.
So I know there's Keep St. Pete Lit will be a part of the factory.
Yep.
Black Crow will have
Black Crow Coffee, Keep St. Pete Lit, the Tampa Bay Business Committee for the Arts, the St. Pete's Arts Alliance, and therefore the Shine Mural Festival, Daddy Cool Records, Fairgrounds will be there. There's a bunch of galleries going in as well. So it should just be a really fun, I think, a whole campus full of interesting things to do. So I imagine it's all on the trail too. So you could ride your bike, get a coffee, have some food, go to Fairgrounds, buy some art, hear some music, buy some records, just sort of a lovely little destination. And it's exciting. We have a lot of outdoor space. So I think, we can activate the outdoors as well.
I was going to ask too, creating this gallery, because Fairgrounds was announced before the pandemic hit, obviously.
Yeah.
But trying to figure out, the either opening timeline or like measuring out the space, how has that sort of affected Fairgrounds?
We luckily touchless technology. So where maybe last year we would have said you push this or do this, now it'll be a hand motion over it or a foot pedal. So we've been able to intervene on our design and our stories in time to sort of transfer them to, I think, keep them safer. And of course, we're having our artists, we're tasking them with how, asking the questions all of a sudden, how will we clean it? How will we maintain it? Doing sort of less things that people are coming in hand contact with. But, really sort of thinking through how we can, we want to host the public and we want them to do it safely. So I'm sure we'll have hand sanitizer stations everywhere and limited numbers at first. But I am an optimist and I don't think the world will go back to what it was, but I do think we'll be able to leave our homes at some point. And, I'll be ready in the beginning of next year to go out and see great art with the people I love.
And I was wondering, would you mind, because I know in a better time this would be like in person and I would have the whole Fairgrounds team, with you.
Yeah.
Would you maybe want to just mention who else is involved with the Fairgrounds?
Yeah, so thanks to John Collins of the Art Alliance, I was telling him about Fairgrounds and he said, well, you have to meet Mikhail Manchin. And we met, and him and his wife Olivia Manchin, and just sort of were of the same mind and have partnered on Fairgrounds, and then have been joined by Tyson Johnson, Kristen, Chris, Josh, who am I missing? We just have a team of about 7 now, but the 4 of us who have been doing it from the beginning is Mikhail, Olivia, Tyson, and I. And we've been working together for a year and a half now. And it's just great to get to work with people who you want to be friends with and are interesting artists and technologists and creative people.
One second, am I just frozen a bit? Thank y'all for patience. So we lost connection for a bit. I'm going to try to invite Liz back in. It was like the time when I should have my dog here to like do a dancing wait thing for everyone. But let me just see here.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It would
No
be
worries.
the one time the internet's not working for me.
No, Instagram Live, it's what happens. This is what makes it fun,
Yeah.
But I think I lost you after you said, working with people who are your friends, who are, interesting technologists.
Yeah, so just creative, interesting, inspiring people. And now we're getting to broaden the pool by, collaborating with all these wonderful artists. And they're getting to bring their work and inspiring us and teaching us. So it's just, it's a great place to get to go work, and it's a joy every day. Today we were talking about narrative and all writing on a big board and mapping out more stories, and it's just fun.
That's this might be like too behind the scenes, but I'm just like so curious how a space like that is laid out, like how you visualize, because there's gonna be so many things at work here, not just like static pieces, but things that people can interact with and move with. So what's it like drawing, I guess, like that storyboard?
Well, it is, you just said it right. It's a very story-driven space. We consider ourselves storyful. And so we really did sort of start by developing that narrative and having some workshops where we literally, my family, our partners all at Fairgrounds came together, wrote ideas all over Post-it notes, put them up on a wall, and then started to narrow down to sort of what we wanted, the stories we wanted to focus on. And again, it's sort of just the ones we want to prioritize, because there's so many wonderful Florida stories and ideas that some of them have been parked in a parking lot for a little while, but we just all sort of agreed on what to focus on, and then have been weaving a loose narrative around them, and then using that as a constraint as to where to start the Fairgrounds adventure. And, I don't think we're going to change it over time and evolve it over time. So there's more stories to be told in the future and, to be continued.
It is a question that had been posed to me, and it's knowing that you collect. A lot of people like wonder, like, how do you, like, when do you know it's a piece that you want to bring home? Like what, or do you have a specific style that you like?
My style has evolved over time, but really it's the works that you can't stop thinking about. So, if I don't buy them immediately, I go home and I'm thinking about them before I go to bed, and I'm thinking about it in the morning, or it's something that is told a story that I identify with, or a cause that I'm interested in, or, I really like to collect a lot. I have started to collect a lot of political art and art about the contemporary American experience. I mean, we're in such a extraordinary time that I really gravitate towards artists talking about now. But in general, I really like to collect from artists I know and I get to spend time in the studio with. There's nothing more exciting for me. My favorite thing to do is to do an artist studio visit and go talk to someone creative and learn why they're making something and how they do it and why they do it and what they're thinking about. I just love that. So I really love to collect from artists that I know and love, or at least get to know the artists that I collect, and, follow them in their careers and support them if I can.
Are there any because the other things, I've never had the chance to go to a Meow Wolf, but I'm just like wondering are there any innovations, like sort of in the technological realm of art, that are sort of exciting and you're like really excited to bring to St. Petersburg? Are there any, or are there like new innovations coming forward that you think will really excite people?
Yeah, I mean, I think that artists and technologists are by nature always innovating. So of course, when you combine the two, it is just innovative. So I think Fairgrounds will be innovative for St. Pete in that it's a totally immersive artist-made experience. We don't have that here yet. And then we do have sort of a creative technology and arts focus. So we'll actually, I think, be partnering with artists and pushing them to expand their practices using some more technology than maybe they have in the past, and hopefully providing the education and the resources to do that.
I know you talked about sort of the art of this moment, and I've seen so many just brilliant pieces sort of arise from this. Do you think that this is really going to, just people who wouldn't usually interact with art are now engaging with it on a very deep level? Do you think this is going to bring even more eyes to the art world?
I think, yes. I think we've all had to stay home, so we've had a little bit more time to maybe read or watch movies or look at art or look at things on the internet. So I think we've all had to slow down a little bit. So maybe we have a little bit more time to take in things. So I was at Tumblr the other day, and people are reading more, because it's a time to sort of slow down and do that. So I think all of the arts will sort of benefit from this, and from strife and from difficulty and from challenges comes great art. And, I can't wait to see the work and the paintings and the stories and the movies and the films and the albums that come out of this period.
And when you sort of put out the call for artists, is that really open to all artists, or all mediums? I mean, so like, yes. When you were getting submissions, did you find like there were any sort of you know, that people weren't just sending in paintings, but someone might have sent in like a reel or something like that.
Yes, we got all kinds and we hope to work with all kinds. I mean, some of the artists who are more performative, we said, yes, we want to work with you, but we have to open first, you know? So they might not be there on day one, but hopefully they show up on day one and we're starting to work on our collaboration right then. So yes, we got all kinds and all kinds of different kinds of people, different ages, different types of artists, different mediums. It was just really inspiring and exciting to see. And I hope to work with sort of everyone. You know, I think everyone has something exciting and interesting to say. And the reaction to Fairgrounds has been so positive. And, you know, people have really dug deep. And as we've expanded our narrative and told artists about it, the things they've come up with have just been so exciting.
One of my favorite things about the art scene in St. Petersburg is that it really represents, you know, not only like the beauty of art, but the economic impact that art can have on a community. And I think, you know, with like Shine Mural Festival specifically, the amount of eyes that it brings to our city, but also the way it kind of brings people to different parts of St. Pete that they might not have explored before. And I know when we talked to L'Oreal Holloway of Cultured Books, she talked about that the Black Lives Matter mural, which is just stunning outside the C.G. Woodson Museum.
It's the best one in the country, literally.
Yeah,
it is.
The story behind the Tampa Bay Times has done a wonderful job of profiling each artist and what, you know, their letter represents. And it's so great to see that, you know, all of the reasons why these pieces of art matter. I mean, can you maybe talk about the economic impact of art, or like why it might matter for a community?
Yeah, you know, so I think art is one, empathy matters for a community and getting along with your neighbors and people being able to tell their stories or share their art or talk about what's important to them, and us to hear and learn and hear other people's stories makes us all just better neighbors. But then art itself and cultural investment is great for cities, communities, corporations, everyone, because, you know, we are in what you call the experience economy, and people are more interested in spending on experience than spending on goods and services. So I would think, you know, St. Pete has done such a good job. It started in the 90s, really, I think, having a cultural plan, and you can see the booming downtown focused around the arts and food and being outdoors. I mean, it's got all the pieces of the puzzle, right? And that brings in other investors because companies want to be in places where the people they want to hire want to live. So the more livable and walkable and interesting your city, the more dynamic your city, the more dynamic the people, and then the more dynamic the companies who want to attract those people. And then arts themselves, you know, artists are all entrepreneurs. They all have their own businesses. They are their business. They are their brand. So they're incredibly entrepreneurial. They are business people, and they contribute hugely to the economy. Fairgrounds really wants to work with artists and support our creative community by not just paying artists, you know, the one time to install their work or create their work, but we're going to give artists a percentage of the profits from ticket sales while their work is on view. So while you have work at Fairgrounds and people are coming, you'll benefit. The more people who come to Fairgrounds, the more you'll earn as an artist. We're all in this together, and I hope to find, you know, it's another way to support artists and really supporting them for the thing that they do, which is draw a crowd, spark a conversation, inspire ideas, and they should be paid for that.
Are there any outlets that, if you'd want to suggest to anyone following, are there any outlets where if anyone wanted to, like, I want to support the arts and I don't know where to start, what would be like the first steps for someone in St. Pete?
Well, I mean, watch, you know, I Love the Burg's live Instagrams and follow y'all's feed, because, you know, just finding local artists and buying something from them or going to see their performance or reading their story and sharing about it with your friends if you enjoy it, you know, that's the way to, during this time I've been trying to buy artworks from local artists, but that could be $50, $200, $300, $25. You know, it doesn't have to be giving someone not only the cash, but the saying, hey, I like your work enough to invest in it and spend my money on, you know, that's valuable for someone. And then sharing, you know, I try to post about artists and share about them because, you know, word of mouth is how I find a lot of artists and how a lot of artists, you know, get discovered. So go out there, take part in art or watch it online and then share about it.
Now, this is a slight diversion, but whenever we have someone on, I just love to talk about when I ask everyone like what their favorite things to do in St. Pete, I just love learning the different ways we all experience the Sunshine City. So it's like for a day in the life of you, maybe not in a pandemic, if you're free to roam, what would be the spots you would most want to visit on like a given Saturday?
I mean, the Warehouse Arts District and visiting artists in their studio and seeing what my friends are making and why. But then, I'm an outdoors person as well. So we're blessed to have such wonderful parks and a waterfront that has parks in St. Pete. I've been beyond impressed with the new pier. I'm a fan. I like it. I was so thrilled when I went there and saw it. There was nothing I didn't like. The Janet Eckelman's incredible. So I think right now it's one of the spots that I want to show my friends. I have friends in town next weekend who will be in town, and it's like we have to go see the pier and go see the Janet Eckelman, and it's a safe place to spend time outdoors. But I of course love the Museum of Fine Arts, the Dali, the Morian. I'm one of those people who does like to know what shows are on, and I want to go see all of them. But I love to eat, so there's wonderful things to do in St. Pete. I'm a big fan of the Edge District, which is right by Fairgrounds, and end up eating there, a lot. So, there's nothing more fun than getting to eat outside, see great art, spend time in the outdoors, and sort of, live in paradise. We're pretty lucky, especially during the pandemic when, you can be outdoors, you can do all these things, you can go swimming in the ocean or the Gulf, really. It's just, I have a lot of gratitude for living here during this time.
Absolutely. I think I was walking around the pier. I was FaceTiming with my family up in Connecticut, and they were confused by everything they saw because they see this giant purple arc waving above me. And then we walk a little bit more and we see a mural on the side of Ceviche, and there's all these like little touches in St. Petersburg that make it distinctive from other spots. It's something that's easy to take for granted. And so I always love to hear of your experience. It reminds me, see this place with new eyes always, because it is a really rare city.
Yeah, I mean, I find out about cool things to do from artists usually. They're who I asked about who I should be collecting and what shows I should go see, artists and curators. We have so many here that they can always sort of point you in a new direction.
Are there any arts experiences, and I'll even like expand this beyond St. Pete, but just like in the state of Florida, are there any like arts experiences you really recommend people seek out when they can?
Yeah, I mean, so one, we have incredible art institutions here, and especially in Tampa Bay. So we have incredible art museums, and there's free days and free nights, so I highly encourage people to go see those. The Ringling down in Sarasota, the John and Mabel Ringling Museum, is one of my favorites, but I also adore the Circus Museum and the circus model. They have this circus model made by, I think, Mr. Tibbles, and it is huge, and it just boggles your mind that someone has spent their lifetime making this incredible real to life. He only made things in the model that he actually saw and documented in circus history. So that's an incredible place. Marie Selby Gardens in Sarasota is incredible. In St. Pete, I love the art walks. I love to go do that and try to go to places that I haven't been to before and check off new things. But Miami has an incredible art scene, and it's really expanding out into the Alapath neighborhood, which is, past Wynwood, heading a little bit more out. And there's incredible arts institutions and secret galleries and things going on. Florida has a lot of great art and great art institutions, and that's just visual art. Like, let's not even, there's American Stage, there's the symphony, there's the theaters. Something when I moved from New York, back down from New York, people in Florida kept on saying, well, you're going to be so bored because it's not New York and there's nothing to do. And I was like, you're insane. There's so much to do here. I can't actually do it all. I love Seminole Heights. There's great food. There's great galleries. It's all fun.
Yeah, I think my first, and actually this would field a question. I saw someone had asked, and I assume the answer is yes. So someone asked if there's any potential for glass blowing at Fairgrounds.
There's potential for everything at Fairgrounds. So please, if you're an artist out there, we'll have more open calls. Join our mailing list. And the people on our mailing list get advance notice of open calls before other people in our news first. So please apply. And, there's room for glass for sure. We're fans.
I was going to ask you, so we've got, St. Pete, or this area's been referenced as the Glass Coast. Do you know like what really started that nickname, or how we kind of earned that?
Actually, I don't know how it started, but I do know that even the Ringling, it has a glass, whole exhibition area now. And there are so many, Duncan McClellan is really one of the people who started in the warehouse art exhibition, turning it over to a place where artists are. So there is just a great tradition of it, and there's great support for it. When it is pretty exciting to see, everything that's made out there.
And I know how does living in New York really compare to St. Petersburg? Are there like, so I always wonder, like the development of St. Pete, has it changed a lot? Like, is it more comparable to New York now, or is it sort of something
Well, I
beyond
lived my last, decade in New York. I lived in Brooklyn, and St. Pete really is like the Brooklyn of the Tampa Bay area, right? It's that place where it's just a little edgier, grittier, more fun, more open, fun things to do. And, there's a little bit of a bragging right. There's a certain kind of person that lives in like St. Pete, or I live in Brooklyn, and, you can sort of tell. And I think St. Pete, I've found that people say, instead of when you say I'm doing fairgrounds or I'm doing something you've never done before, they say, how can I help? Or that's awesome. How can I get involved? Instead of like, we don't do that here, or that won't work. It's immediately like to the positive and like, yeah, let's do it together. What can I do to help? It's the most magical thing.
And for anyone listening, I know you said, if you're an artist, reach out to Fairgrounds. For anyone listening who just wants to support you all, is there any way they can right now?
Join the mailing list. We'll probably have tickets going on sales for what, towards the end of the year. And, follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And we're starting Twitch soon. I'm not even clear what all we're doing there, but there's people smarter and more creative than me that will help us do it. So follow us on our social media channels, and then you'll sort of know all of our news. But we also highlight the artists that we're working with and artists that we love, and follow them. Fairgrounds is made possible by all these wonderful artists, and really, support them, follow them, like what they're doing, share what they're doing.
Are there any, I know you mentioned one earlier, are there any other artists worth following on Instagram right now?
Oh, I mean, Jake Troiley is a star, and, will be big time in the art world. So he's one to follow. Selena Roman. I mean, there's so many in this area. The list of who we're working with, I'll just say there's so many, and we have wonderful graduate school programs. So when I'm looking to find a new batch of artists, or to really go down the rabbit hole and find new people to follow, I look a lot at the teachers who's teaching at the art schools around us, and then start looking at the shows of the MFA students. And there's just incredible talent out there. And I'm, again, focusing on the visual arts. We have every kind of art here, and all people, and all working in all media that are just wonderful.
I will recommend that anyone listening to this goes immediately and follows Fairgrounds on Instagram. Like, your Instagram stories, it's like my dreams come to life. But then even like, more kaleidoscopic, like some of the art that you all share just blows my mind, and that it's out there and that it's accessible, and that a lot of it is, as you said, local.
Well, that is all Olivia Manchin, who's in charge of our communications, and she's wonderful. But I do see her sort of regramming and sharing your live feed a lot of the time, and your stories. So y'all have pretty good feed too. But there are just, once you sort of get into the immersive and the experiential art and start to follow it, yeah, people are doing awesome things. It's really exciting to see what's happening out there.
Well, I think that is our time. But before we go, I always like, just give you the opportunity, if there's any, final message you want to convey about Fairgrounds or about the factory at large, what would you like everyone to know?
We'll be open in the new year. We really want it to be a place where everyone feels welcome and everyone is invited to come. You can come to the factory and have a fun day without spending any money. We'll have days for Fairgrounds where we make it extremely affordable for people. So just stay tuned and start following us. And again, get out there and support the artists that we're working with and the artists in our community. Also share with us about artists that we don't know. Please, send us messages and let us know about artists, because we don't know everything. There are so many wonderful people out there that we're always open to recommendations, and just being in touch with whomever. And, we're open to new ideas too.
Well, Liz, thank you so much for spending the night with me. I'm so excited for Fairgrounds. This is like everything I ever wanted for St. Petersburg in a nutshell, and I can't wait to have my mind blown by what's inside.
Well, we get farther down the road in the fall. You'll need to come over for a preview and maybe some behind the scenes sort of access so we can sort of let you know on what's happening. It's going to be really awesome and exciting.
Thank you so much. My favorite part of the lives is figuring out how to end it because I have to like go really close to the phone and like.
Yeah, well, you go first.
Let's see. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for listening.
All right, bye.
Bye.